I was somehow lucky enough to receive an invitation to the Dawntrail Media Tour, where I was given the opportunity to test out the level 100 iterations of all 21 of the game's jobs. In order to make sure you can get all the information you want quickly, I've sectioned each of my Media Tour videos into 3 sections. Firstly comes the changes and additions, including tooltips. Then I will talk more in depth on how I feel about the jobs. It's here that I'll talk about the various little bits and pieces that I tested, how this will shift their playstyle, and give you a bit of a primer of exactly what to expect going into the next expansion. Lastly, at the end of the video, I will have a full list of the jobs tooltips from the Media Tour build, including traits. Do please bear in mind that what I played was a development build, and it's totally subject to change, especially potencies, so don't take this as a final product, but it can be very useful to see intention and direction from the developers. Additionally, I had very limited time to test everything, and our play session was at like 400 ping due to needing to route the server access through North America, then all the way to Japan. So what you're going to be seeing from me is definitely not peak gameplay. My apologies, I did the best I could with what we had access to. Pictomancer is the new caster being added to the game, and I got about half an hour with it to experiment, learn the basics, and just enjoy it on the whole. I'm showing off the limit break at the moment, and then in a minute we'll break down its skills and how it plays. Pictomancer was actually my highlight of the entire Media Tour. It combines extended cast phases with incredibly fun instant bursts, and juggling its numerous gauges felt really rewarding to me. Pictomancer has a few different job elements you'll be looking at while playing. The canvas, firstly, which is split up into 3 parts: the creature canvas, the weapon canvas, and the landscape canvas, each of which enables a different part of your rotation. You'll paint a motif, which prepares it on the canvas and deals no damage, and then you'll render via a muse to fire off an attack. Motifs have a cast time in combat, but are instant cast GCDs outside of combat, whereas the muses are OGCD attacks. Your creature canvas has a bunch of different attacks linked to it, including 4 different components and 2 big finisher attacks that result from them. You'll cycle through the 4 different creature components, painting and rendering them one by one, and after each 2, you'll be able to execute a special finisher. The cycle goes as follows: you'll do palm, then wing, then claw, and finally the more motif and renders in order. And render each using the Living Muse skill, which is a 40-second cooldown and 3 charges, allowing you a 1000 potency OGCD attack. Once you have Pom and Wing completed, you can use Mog of the Ages, an 1100 potency hit that renders a Moogle and has it shoot a huge beam at the enemy. Once you complete all 4 motifs and renders, your Mog of the Ages button will transform, and you are then able to use Retribution of the Medine, summoning the little green Grungler and smashing the enemy for 1300 potency, again an off-global. The middle canvas is your weapon canvas, and your weapon canvas allows you to create lots of hammers. After painting a hammer motif on the canvas in much the same way as you would with the previous canvas we discussed, you can use Striking Muse. Your weapon muses have a 60-second cooldown, and they use the charge system as well with a maximum of 2 charges. Once you've done the weapon motif into Muse, you now basically get a 3-hit hammer combo to use at your leisure. These are instant cast GCDs, beginning with Hammer Stamp, going into Hammer Brush, and finishing up with Polishing Hammer. The 3 attacks hit combined for 1740 potency, and they open you up to a ton of movement and weaving space for an extended period of time, allowing you to easily execute mechanics without losing uptime. Your third and final canvas is the landscape canvas. This is essentially your raid buff canvas. You'll paint the Starry Sky motif, which will allow you to use Starry Muse, a 2-minute cooldown with one of the longest tooltips I've ever seen. Starry Muse gives you a 5% buff to you and the party for 20 seconds in terms of your damage, reduces your recast time on certain spells by 25% whilst within the grassy ley lines, gives you a free use of Subtractive Palette, both of these skills we'll cover in a moment by the way. It allows you an instant cast of Rainbow Drip and access to probably your strongest ability in Star Prism. Rainbow Drip is a spell with a huge cast and huge potency alongside it. If you look at that recast time, but on the plus side it's 900 potency. My guess is basically you're going to use this pre-pull and within your instant cast under Starry Muse, because whilst it has the Starry Muse buff, it is the same speed as a normal GCD with instant cast, but otherwise you won't get too much value out of this. Star Prism is an instant GCD that deals 1300 potency and simultaneously heals the party for 400 potency. This is locked to your 2-minute burst. That's your entire canvas gauge. But don't worry, that's only half of Pictomancer's job gauge. Your palette gauge here manages the other half of Pictomancer's gameplay. You essentially use GCD casted white Aether Hue combos to accumulate paint and palette gauge. Then you can spend the paint on high powered instant GCD attacks, and you can use the palette gauge to execute subtractive palette, flipping the properties of your next Aether Hue combo from white to black, drastically increasing its damage. Alongside this, it allows you to stockpile a black paint to spend as well, and you can hold up to 5 paint at a time as well as 100 gauge. Your white Aether Hue standard combo is Fire in red, followed by Aero in green, and lastly Water in blue. There's an AoE combo version of this as well, which is literally just the same names, just with a 2 next to them. Interestingly, Pictomancer's base combos are really cool in that you can easily swap from single target to AoE, and then back to single target mid-combo without breaking it. So you could, for example, use Fire in red, then Aero 2 in green, and then finish it up with Water in blue, and it would work fine. Very nice, please give us this for more jobs, Square Enix. This combo is also one button. Completing one of these combos gives you 25 gauge, and it also provides you a single white paint to spend on Holy in White, a 480 potency instant GCD. If you spend 50 gauge, you can use Subtractive Palette, which allows you one black Aether Hue combo of spells and also converts one of your white paint into a black. This combo is formed of Blizzard in Cyan, Stone in Yellow, and Thunder in Magenta, and it also has its own AoE version with the number 2 slap next to it. Completing this combo will flip your Aether Hue back to white, and also give you a black paint that can be spent on Comet in Black, a 780 potency instant GCD. You also have Smudge, a 15-second gap closer on a 20-second cooldown. Functionally, this is identical to White Mage's new gap closer Ethereal Shift, and it's kind of the same as Dancer's En Avant, but it travels a further distance. You also have Tempera Coat, your unique mitigation. Tempera Coat creates a shield around you for 20% of your total HP, lasting for 10 seconds. It's a 2-minute cooldown, but if the shield is broken, the cooldown is reduced by 60 seconds. On top of that, Tempera Coat has a combo action, Tempera Grasa. This is an AoE shield on the party totaling 10% of max HP, also for 10 seconds. If this shield is broken, you'll reduce Tempera Coat's cooldown by 30 seconds. You also have all of the roll actions and so on that are shared by all casters, including the newly buffed Adel. So how does all of this come together? And what do I think of Pictomancer? Your creature combo is clearly the core of the job's gameplay and your highest value set of spells aside from the burst window. Your aim is to never drift your creature motifs and muses, and ensure that you can Mog of Ages and Retribution of the Medine as often as possible, and within raid buffs whenever you can. One thing to note is that because you get 3 stacks of this on a 40-second cooldown, and there are 4 in total, the timings end up a little bit janky, so not all of them are going to be under raid buffs, unfortunately. In between this, you'll be prioritizing doing your filler painting combos to build as many subtractive palette uses as possible, because your black Aether Hue combo and finisher is, as of right now, the second strongest thing you have in your arsenal behind the creature combo. Because your landscape combo is essentially your raid buff, you want to ensure this never drifts as well. The landscape combo is actually the strongest thing you have on the whole, but because it's your raid buff, it's kind of assumed that you're going to do it on cooldown. The hammer combo is less important. With the way potencies are right now, this is the weakest set of attacks you have aside from that crazy 6-second cast. That is of course assuming that you need to prepare the motif during uptime. Luckily, you get to prepare your first hammer combo pre-pull, and then whenever there's a downtime you can set up another, and you definitely want to spend those ones. That said, if it's a choice between preparing a hammer combo during uptime for an upcoming mechanic and not being able to cast it at all, you of course start smashing those hammers. I think Pictomancer at its core is a fairly simple job actually. Has a lot of moving parts that can be difficult to initially digest, and my god, it has really long tooltips, but once you're playing the job itself, it all flows very naturally once you have a good idea of what to do. Speaking of flows, here are the job flow charts whilst I talk about roughly how the gameplay loop of the job's core mechanics actually play out in practice. The real difficulty of Pictomancer will be in optimizing your instance around those extended periods of casting, because really, the job has a lot of cast bars for a 7.0 caster DPS, and for me personally, I absolutely love that. I feel that a job like this has been sorely missing from the game for a while, especially since the advent of Black Mage having a ton of movement options and Summoner losing almost all of their cast bars completely. Here is every single Pictomancer tooltip for your viewing and theory crafting purposes. If you have any questions at all that I can answer about the job, let me know in the comment section and I'll do my very best. I can't stress enough how much I enjoyed playing Pictomancer. It's gone from very low on my priority list to the job out of all 21 that I want to level and play the most after I got to test it out. Honestly, since I got back from the media tour, I haven't logged into Final Fantasy XIV because I just want to play more Pictomancer, but I can't. Just a few more weeks to wait, I guess. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day.